Some doors in a palace are never locked with keys. They are locked with pride. On a cold gray morning at Greyhold Castle, a single order was passed down the marble halls. A small boy, only 8 years old, was no longer welcome inside the walls his own family called home. No shouting. No explanation the servants could understand. Just a name struck off a list, a room emptied, and a grandmother left standing in silence. Everyone assumed the child would simply vanish from royal life forever. But high in the eastern wing, an old princess with tired eyes and a straight back was watching everything, and she had already decided that no wall in this castle would keep her away from that boy. What she did next, quietly and without a single word to the man who gave the order, would stay hidden for months, until the day the truth finally slipped into the light. The autumn wind pushed hard against the tall windows of Greyhold Castle the morning everything changed. Inside, Prince Aldrich stood in his study, reading a letter he had read 3 times already. His jaw was tight. His hands were still. For years he had carried the weight of the family's name, and now something in that letter had convinced him that a threat lived inside his own home. That threat in his mind was a small boy named Tobias. Tobias was 8 years old. He had soft brown hair, a gap in his front teeth, and a habit of talking to the horses as if they understood every word. He was the grandson of Lady Marlowe, a gentle woman who had married into the royal family late in life and never once asked for attention. Tobias was not a prince. He had no title, no crown waiting for him. He was simply a child who loved the castle gardens and the smell of fresh bread in the kitchens. But Aldrich had grown cold toward Lady Marlowe over the years. He had never fully accepted her place in the family. And now, with whispers reaching him about money, about influence, about people using the royal name, his suspicion turned toward the quietest person in the house, a little boy who had done nothing wrong. That morning Aldrich called for the head steward. His voice was calm but firm. "The boy is not to enter the main castle again," he said. "Not the halls, not the gardens, not the family rooms." The steward blinked, unsure he had heard correctly. "Your Highness, he is only a child." "I know exactly what he is," Aldrich answered. News travels fast in a house full of servants. By noon, Lady Marlowe stood in the eastern corridor, holding Tobias's small hand, her face pale. A guard, looking ashamed, told her gently that they could not pass. She did not argue. She did not cry in front of the boy. She simply squeezed his hand and led him back toward the servants' wing, her heart breaking with every step. Tobias looked up at her, confused. "Grandmother, did I do something bad?" "No, my love," she whispered. "You did nothing at all." And far above them, from a high window, someone was watching. Princess Rowena was 71 years old, and she had seen more of life than anyone else in that castle. She was Aldrich's aunt, his father's sister, a woman known across the kingdom for her sharp tongue, her love of horses, and her refusal to play the polite games of palace life. She wore old riding boots more often than fine gowns, and she trusted actions far more than words. From her window that morning, she had watched the guard turn away a grandmother and a small boy. She had seen Tobias look back at the great doors with confusion in his eyes, and something inside her, old and steady, had gone very quiet and very certain. Rowena did not go to Aldrich to argue. She knew her nephew. When his pride was wounded, words only made the walls around him thicker. Shouting would change nothing, so she chose a different path, a quieter one. That evening she walked down to the servants' wing herself, something no royal ever did. The staff froze when they saw her. She ignored their bows and knocked gently on Lady Marlowe's door. Marlowe opened it, shocked to see a princess standing there. "May I come in?" Rowena asked simply. Inside the small room, Tobias sat on a narrow bed, hugging his knees. Rowena looked at him for a long moment, then sat down beside him with a soft groan, her old knees complaining. "I hear you like horses," she said. Tobias nodded slowly, unsure. "Good," she said, "because I have a stubborn gray mare who bites everyone but me, and I need someone brave enough to help me feed her. Are you brave?" A tiny spark returned to the boy's eyes. "I think so." "Then be at the stables at sunrise," Rowena said, standing up. "The far ones near the old oak. No one goes there but me." She turned to Lady Marlowe and lowered her voice. "The main castle is closed to him, but the stables, the eastern fields, the old riding paths, those are mine. My nephew has no power there. Send the boy to me each morning, quietly. No one needs to know." Marlowe's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you do this? Aldrich is your family." Rowena paused at the door. "So is that child," she said, "and I have buried too many people to waste time being cruel to the living." Then she was gone, her boots echoing down the corridor, and a secret was born. The mornings became a world of their own. Before the sun was fully up, Tobias would slip out through a small side gate and run to the far stables, where Princess Rowena waited with 2 cups of warm milk and a list of chores. She taught him how to hold a brush, how to speak softly to a nervous horse, how to stand his ground without fear. But she taught him more than that. On slow afternoons, sitting on hay bales, she told him stories about his own family, the kind Aldrich had forgotten. She spoke of courage, of kindness, of a grandfather who had once given his coat to a beggar in the snow. She made sure Tobias knew he belonged to something good, even if a locked door said otherwise. She also fought for him in ways he never saw. Quietly, she paid for his lessons through a tutor she trusted, telling no one where the money came from. She sent food to Lady Marlowe's room when the kitchens grew unfriendly. When a cruel rumor spread that the boy was a thief, Rowena summoned the servant who started it and ended the lie with a single cold conversation. She never raised her voice. She never needed to. Months passed like this. Tobias grew taller, calmer, happier. His laughter returned. He no longer flinched when someone walked toward him. The frightened child who once hugged his knees on a narrow bed had become a bright, gentle boy who could quiet a wild horse with a whisper. And through all of it, Prince Aldrich remained in his cold, proud world above, certain he had protected his family from a danger that had never existed. He did not know that his own aunt met the boy every dawn. He did not know that the child he had banished was being raised, in secret, into everything a good person should be. Rowena knew the truth could not stay hidden forever. Castles are full of eyes. One day, someone would talk. One day, Aldrich would find out that the aunt he respected had quietly defied him for months. She was not afraid of that day. She almost welcomed it. Because deep down, Rowena believed that when her nephew finally saw the boy he had thrown away, saw who Tobias had become, and understood who had helped him become it, the walls of pride around Aldrich's heart might finally begin to crack. She just did not expect the truth to come out the way it did. Not through a whisper, not through a rumor, but through the wild, panicked scream of a runaway horse, and a small boy running straight toward danger to save the one person Aldrich loved most. It happened on a bright spring morning. Aldrich's young daughter, Princess Aline, had wandered near the far stables, chasing a butterfly, when the gray mare, startled by a slamming gate, broke loose. The huge horse reared and bolted straight toward the little girl, who stood frozen in its path. Guards shouted, grooms ran, but they were too far away. Only one person was close enough. Tobias. Without a second of hesitation, the boy sprinted forward, threw himself between the child and the charging mare, and did the one thing Rowena had taught him 100 times. He raised his hands, planted his feet, and spoke, low, steady, unafraid. "Easy, girl, easy, that's me." The mare skidded, snorted, and stopped inches away, her sides heaving. Tobias caught her rope and gently guided her back, all while shielding little Aline with his own body. Prince Aldrich arrived seconds later, his heart in his throat, and saw everything. He saw his daughter safe. He saw the dangerous boy he had banished standing calm and brave, protecting her. And he saw the horse, Rowena's horse, obeying the child as if they had known each other for years. How Aldrich breathed. How does he know how to do that? A steady voice answered from behind him, "Because I taught him." Aldrich turned. Princess Rowena stood there in her old riding boots, chin high. "Every morning for nearly a year," she said. "While you locked doors, I opened them. That boy you feared, I raised him better than your fear ever could, and today he saved your daughter's life." Aldrich looked at Tobias, really looked, and for the first time saw not a threat but a frightened, kind child he had wronged. Shame rose in him like a tide. He knelt down, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry," he told the boy. "I was wrong, I was so wrong." Tobias, still holding the mare's rope, simply nodded, the way children forgive faster than adults ever deserve. That evening, the doors of Greyhold Castle opened once more. Tobias walked through the great halls with his grandmother on one side and Princess Rowena on the other. Lady Marlowe wept quietly. Aldrich watched from the top of the stairs, humbled and changed. Pride had built a wall. Love, patience, and one stubborn old princess had quietly torn it down, one sunrise at a time. And no one in that castle ever forgot the truth they learned that day, that the smallest, quietest acts of kindness can outlast the loudest orders of power.